What's up, guys? Stocky Not Stock here, doing another project. This has actually been kind of a passion project of mine. Ever since I bought my car, I've not been able to refuel it normally, so I had to hook it up to the fuel pump, and I'd be which essentially I had to throttle the gas pump and make it so that I can fuel it up, because the fuel would start passing back up into the filler neck and kicking off the gas pump. And for troubleshooting, what I've done is I've cleaned out all the evap lines, I've checked the charcoal canister, looked at all the solenoids involved in the system for the evaporative emissions, and I just came to a dead end. There was nothing in the lines. The filler neck wasn't kinked. There was nothing wrong with it, as far as I could tell. Did some more research, looked at the diagrams on the Subaru parts, and found that there is what's called a fuel vent valve in the middle of my fuel tank. And what that does is, once the fuel hits a certain level, it won't let air pass out of the vehicle, and then ergo it won't let fuel go into the system. So what I'm thinking is going on is that something is messed up with this fuel vent valve, such that the air isn't able to pass out. I've even taken the hose off of the charcoal canister when I was refueling it at one point, and put my hand on it, and I couldn't feel any air coming out of it. So pretty much it's a bit of throwing the parts cannon at this, and purchasing parts that I'm not sure are bad, which typically isn't a good plan for a mechanic. But in this case, I've narrowed it down to that is all it could be. So I went ahead, ordered the parts. They came in a couple days ago. I finally got time to put the car in the garage and take it down for the time that I need. So I have to drop the fuel tank, which also means that I have to take out the muffler, the differential, or rear differential, and the rear cross member. Just to get the fuel tank enough room that I can take it down and get to the fuel vent valve, which there are 2 access ports for the fuel level sensors and fuel pump. Unfortunately, the fuel vent valve is right in between them, and it's completely covered by the car's floor, I guess. So there's no way for me to kind of get underneath it and, through one of the access holes to replace it. So this is going to be a bit of an in-depth project. Probably going to be a bit of a longer video, longer to edit, longer to make. I hope it's going to be worth it for you guys. This is definitely beyond the scope of what a normal weekender mechanic is going to be doing. But I hope it'll show to everyone watching that you can do something if you're brave enough to do it, and that bravery comes with confidence. And the confidence comes from doing the small jobs, the oil changes, moving up to like an alternator change. In a few days, I'll be getting my Mishimoto radiator. We'll be doing a video on me upgrading my old stock radiators to that. So I hope you guys enjoy the video that I'm making. You know, like, comment, subscribe if you like what I'm making, and if you don't, tell me. I want to make this cool. I want to make this a fun channel. So, you know, any constructive criticism. I mean, don't just do the usual YouTube comment thing and shitpost. So let's get started. I am so freaking awkward. I never know how to end these things. Oh, cool. So. Unplug that. Get that the fuck out of here. Yep, probably should have done that before. Whatever. All right. So, what we've done so far is jack up the car and remove the tires here. Yeah. Basic stuff, right, so far. And what we need to do is remove, it's a little hard to see, a little cramped down here. So we've got the muffler assembly here that goes all the way that way. And we've got to remove that. I'm going to be doing that by just taking out these hangers, disconnecting it from the catalytic converter down there, and it should all just drop down. And the next step we're going to do is remove the rear differential. Unfortunately, being an all-wheel drive, I have a differential. If you have an all-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive, this is going to be a problem that you're going to run into when dropping a gas tank. So this is the gas tank right here. You can see where, let me get further in. Come on, come on. Let's go, fat boy. All right. So I've got the passenger side, and it loops under here over top of the rear differential and back over to about right here. So once we get the muffler out, we'll work on the rear differential, which also involves a little bit of the propeller shaft. So what I'm thinking I might do is see if I could just disconnect the propeller shaft and maybe the center bearing down there, and see if I could just drop it down, and that will let me have enough room to drop the gas tank without having to fully remove the rear differential. And we'll come back to this after I drop the muffler assembly down. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what the game plan is so far, and how we're going to attack this problem. And really that's all it is, you know, okay, I've got this that has to come out. Okay, well, what's in its way? I got this, and I got this. Okay, so how do I remove this? Okay, well, I look, it's, you know, a couple bolts up to the catalytic converter, hangers. That's easy. This one's a little more complicated, but it's the same idea. Is, okay, how do I remove this? You know, and 9 times out of 10, installation is going to be exactly the same as removal. So that's not going to be much of a problem. Cool. Part 2. Alright. So, generally, when we have the problem that we do, it's going to be involved in this. This is the carbon filter for the evap system. And what will happen is you'll get spider webs or other debris getting into the exhaust. Well, it does exhaust, but where the air comes out. And when that happens, the gas fumes coming off the tank, because as the gas tank fills up, it's going to displace the air that's inside. The air has to go somewhere, and we don't like the fumes just getting out in the atmosphere. It melts the ice caps and makes the polar bear sad. So what we have is this clever little thing that has activated charcoal, and it collects the fumes and will recirculate it into the system On this particular car, it will put it into the intake manifold. And I've done some troubleshooting, and I've taken this hose off right here while I was refueling. And this is what led me to the conclusion that it has to be one of the air relief valves that's faulty, because I took this off, and as I'm filling it, there's no air coming out. There's no air being displaced, and the filler neck is still just filling up as normal. So if it was anything involved in this system, that wouldn't have happened. I would have known immediately, okay, it's just the air coming out of the gas tank from here is being blocked, and that's what's causing my gas to flow back and gurgle and shut off the pump consistently. Okay, check. We're good to go. All right. Ugh. Whew, that is bright. That is bright. You go over. Yeah. All right. Slightly better. All right. We'll just switch over angles. And I think, yeah. All right. That'll work. Yeah. All right. So we've got the muffler out. We can see this huge cavity where it used to be. Here's one of the hangers right here. The next step is going to be removing the differential. So I've got these bolts here, 4 in total, and I've got to make sure that I mark them properly and ensure that the alignment stays true. Otherwise, we could have a shaft imbalance, which will cause road vibration, noise, and can actually do damage, but more it's a ride comfort issue. Let's see. So we've got these bolts here. All right, cover that. Cover here. And going back further, let's see, we've got this is the center bearing, which holds it up. So what I'm hoping to do is remove these 2 bolts here, this cover, and then these bolts here, and drop it down, swing it out of the way. So we'll come back to that, and we'll see how it goes. All right. We good? All right. Oh. So, giving you guys an update on what I've just done. Whoop. Okay. All right. So, we've got the propeller shaft removed right here. And that came from right here. I'm still getting used to the filming, having a camera strapped to my forehead. So, one of the things that I was learning as I did this, or was reminded of, is bigger hammer isn't always a solution. So, I was fighting and struggling. I was putting pry bars on it, trying to get this thing to turn so that I could access each 4 of the holes. And I was thinking, okay, why isn't this thing turning? Maybe it's attached to transmission. You know, maybe it's some LSD, limited slip differential type thing that I was dealing with. You know, I've never dealt with them before, so I was like, what the heck? Turns out, nope, something simpler. I had the parking brake engaged, and yeah, a little embarrassing, but I'd rather my embarrassment at kind of being wrong and doing something stupid help you guys learn and, you know, stop and think sometimes. You know, that's really the big thing. So, next step is going to be removing this bad boy. Get the rear differential out. I'm pretty satisfied with how the carrier bearing was able to fall out. All right, my nomenclature's jacked right now. It's a little late, but I refuse to work during the day because it's like 100 degrees out. So I got the center bearing out, dropped it down, put the bolts back in so I don't lose them. And I'm pretty satisfied with where it is right now. I've got rested on the tire that's underneath the car. And it's just far enough out of the way that I can still get the fuel tank out of the way when that time comes. So, next step is going to be, yeah, rear differential. All right. Oh, crap. All right. Get those out of the way a little bit. Since we should, all right. Just take this off. All right. So, here's what I'm doing right now is I've got the differential supported on this transmission mount adapter. I've already pulled out the CV axles. Those were pretty simple. All I had to do was put a pry bar and apply it right here, not here. I don't want to damage the dust shield. So pry bar here, push out, and I had to remove this bolt here that connects the control arms so that I could get enough flexibility out to pull the CV axle out all the way. Yeah, so we've got the transmission adapter hooked up to my 3-ton jack, or 3.5-ton. Humble brag there. So these transmission adapters, you can get them from pretty much anywhere. You usually buy your auto parts, and they pop right into where the pad would normally go on your jack. But you do require a 3-ton jack minimum. So it's a little bit more on the expensive side, but sometimes you just got to get the right tools for the job. Otherwise, it's going to involve me hanging out underneath of this differential while I try to lower it, along with the differential front frame right here. So that connects all the way up, going around there to back to the differential. And hopefully you haven't got motion sickness by now, but I just wanted to explain what I'm doing right now. So next step is going to be pulling these two bolts right here. There we go. All right. These two, not these two. These two, not these two. Pull those. Then we'll move on to the front differential. Subframe, I don't remember what the nomenclature is, but we're going to be pulling that out and lowering the rear differential. And that will give us access to the subframe, which that's the last part that I need to remove before I take out the before I could start on the fuel tank. So end in sight, and it'll be a lot easier putting stuff back in because I don't have the learning curve to get over. All right. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So, what we've done so far, we've gotten the rear differential removed. Let's see. Okay. All right. So we can see definitely where the fuel tank goes. This is part of the fuel tank. We move further back. This is the rear cross member. Oh, too much light. And so this will be the restart. So, God damn. All right, here we go. All right, so we've gotten the differential removed. We can see a lot more easier access to the fuel tank, but we're still not quite there yet. We still gotta get this cross member removed. So we've got these 2 bolts and a further 2 bolts. And I'm trying to see and figure out if I need to remove these control arms, which I'd rather not do just because it puts in the risk of messing up my alignment. So we're going to take a look at that, see how we could drop this, and then remove this, and then we're finally to the fuel tank, which is our initial goal in the first place. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and pulled the old part out. So this is the fuel vent valve for my car. It operates on a diaphragm system. I've torn it apart with pliers. This is completely trashed, so there's no rebuilding it. So this is a float, so as the fuel comes up, it'll push a stopper to keep more air from getting out. That'll shut off the pump because, And the problem that I had was the air will come up through here, around into here, and out the nozzle here. So this diaphragm went over top here, this connected here, and the problem was the diaphragm is torn. So this part couldn't do its job to pull the diaphragm. This is my theory, is that it was stuck on there and that it couldn't pop off. It couldn't pop up. And that's what was causing the gas pump. Every time I would go to fuel it up, it would go, and I could hear the fuel kind of gurgling down into the fuel tank from the filler neck. Pyrenees aren't happy tonight. So, quick look, and we have all the new parts in. Everything's hooked back up, except for this, but this is a little low for that right now. And as I raise the car back up, I'll be plugging things back in and ensuring that everything goes where it goes. You can see a little grease on the nut caps, and that is my hope and attempt at corrosion control. So that if I ever have to replace these again, I won't be snapping bolts because I had to use a lot of PB Blaster to get them out in the first place. There was a lot of rust on them. So I'm going to go ahead and stop for now, hook it up, and show you the totality of me reassembling with the GoPro. Hopefully it won't give you guys headaches, and I hope it's informative. So, yeah, job well done so far. And hopefully this could show you guys that things aren't as hard as they may seem to be. It's just everything is just nuts, bolts, and components to be disassembled and reassembled. You just have to have that kind of bravery to make the attempt. And that's where confidence comes in. You know, this is a very in-depth, intense project. Nowhere near as an engine rebuild, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. But hopefully some of you guys that, you know, just do your own oil change, you know, might see this and go, hey, this doesn't seem too hard. And maybe you just start going from, oh, I can't do that. This I can't do, to, you know, I should probably be able to do this. And that's my hope for y'all. That you guys get to a point where you start thinking, I should be able to do this. This shouldn't be too bad. It is hot.